thank you for being here.
My pleasure.
We'll just shake hands like we didn't just, share an Amato sandwich together. But yeah, man, appreciate you being here. Appreciate the work. We're really honored to have Immersion in the 2017 Maine Outdoor Film Festival.
Oh, thanks. I am unbelievably honored to be invited this year. Very, very psyched.
Well, we couldn't be happier to be screening it in Ogunquit, among the surf community there in southern Maine. But of course, your film is about much more than that. What do you tell people when you're asked like what your film's about?
Well, the first thing I tell them, which is sort of true with most of the films I made, is it's not a surf movie. It's about what surf can bring to an individual. And in this particular case, it's a number of individuals that have intellectual and developmental disabilities, or IDD, and an organization that they work with in Kennebunk. So what I try to tell people is that it's super inspirational. It's a feel-good film. It's about the ocean and the power of the ocean.
I think it's one thing that you were speaking about earlier, just in terms of it opened a door for a lot of these kids maybe to parts of their brain and some experience in life that they have never had before. What was that like in terms of getting access to those experiences?
Well, it was pretty amazing. To start, there's been all kinds of literature for years saying that outdoor experiences help the development of the brain, helps people in general to be outdoors, right? So take that one step further with the ocean. There's some very significant and very real impacts that the ocean has on everybody, but especially on kids like that who don't necessarily have the same everyday experiences as kids without IDD. And so in talking to some of these parents, they have alluded to the fact that this program and getting them in the water and surfing with them has led their kids to certain developmental certain developmental milestones that are we almost take for granted in other kids, right? And so having these kids come to the beach, and I volunteer sometimes with this program too, and I was there the other night volunteering, and the kid I was with did not want to go in the water. Like, he was screaming, did not want. But eventually he came around, and by the end of it, the kid was standing up. He was all smiles. He seemed to be like, his mood was like, and this is just a microcosm sort of like of a much larger thing. He changed because the ocean was there, and he started to feel whatever it is they feel inside, and it in a very short period of time turned around. Now, there are very long-term effects from this, but in this particular case, it's just sort of like a really good small example of how that can happen.
Well, that was what's so cool is like everybody knows the feeling of stoke that you get when you stand up on a wave, or when you catch it on the river, or when you're finding powder in the trees or whatever it is. But one cool thing I learned about your film was just the opening up of capacitors, or whatever the technical medical term is for to help people's like quality of life improve who have IDD. I mean, that is something that that I didn't see coming.
Well, when I first started making it, I was like, okay, this is going to be great. It's, a nice day at the beach for these kids, but and it is, but that's not all it is. I mean, I was really blown away. I thought, like, okay, maybe we'll get into the nature's great thing, but it's more than, there's like actual like brain stuff that happens that I, again, don't want to spoil the film, that happens is explained in the film. It's just amazing. It makes me feel incredibly lucky that I get to surf whenever the hell I want. Help my brain out,
Yeah, well said. So how did you stumble upon this story? You said you volunteered, but was that the...
Yeah, I have actually been surfing myself for a really long time, and I knew Nancy. She is the one who started all of this. She used to run a shop called Aquaholics in Kennebunk. She's sold it since, but she started this. She started working with kids with IDD and got them out surfing, and then it just like grew, and I came to it, I don't know what, 4, maybe 5 years ago, and volunteered a couple of times, and then she asked me to help them out with a financial pitch to try and get more donations. And once I did that, I was like, there's a bigger story here. And so, but it wouldn't have been a story without without the full participation of the families and the kids, and I'm hugely grateful for that. They gave me some pretty unprecedented and amazing access to their kids and their lives, and I think that's really what fleshes this story out, for sure.
Well, I definitely was just like pumping my fist at the monitor, when I was watching it. And I mean, you can't really, watch some of the scenes on the beach with just everybody who's there is feeling the same emotion, no matter, where you came from and what your purpose for being on the beach that day is. Good job. I know that you can't make it the night of that we're premiering it because Ben is an actor and it's opening night for his play, which is a reasonable excuse. But it's going to be September 7th at the Levitt Theater in Ogunquit, and we might have some other folks who worked on the film there on hand to do some Q&A. So that'll be wonderful. What do you have? What are you working on now?
Well, during the making of this film, I was actually working on another film as well. It's taking a little bit longer. It's a film about why we run, why we as a species run. And it's, again, one of those films where I started off thinking it'll just be a film about running. But in fact, it's really turned into a science film. It's more about the brain, again, trying to sort of delve into what happens when we run and what happens when we don't run, and the significance of that on us as human beings. And it's pretty fascinating subject, and not being a runner, I feel like I'm probably the right person to tell this story.
I can tell you my mom will be looking forward to the finished work, and so will we, to explain how weird she is. No, just kidding, Mom. Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, it's going to be pretty good. It's going to be a full-length doc, and so right now I'm sort of hung up, without spoiling too much of it, I'm trying to figure out how I can best illustrate molecules flying around the brain without doing too much of like a Schoolhouse Rock kind of thing.
Yeah, CGI.
Right, exactly.
For hire.
Yeah.
Anyone?
Well, serotonin's a molecule that's this big, but VEGF1 is like this molecule is like this big, so I don't know really how to. Well, I'll figure it out.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure you will. Well, cool, man. Thank you for stopping by. Is there anything else that you'd like to share with us?
Well, one kind of cool thing about this film, about immersion, is that I take a lot of pride in matching image to sound, and I really wanted to try and make the music in this particular film pertinent to the subject matter. And so a number of the songs that I used were done by a band out of Boise, Idaho. We're just a bunch of kids. So they're all like, 14, 15-year-old kids who are making the music for this movie that's essentially about kids of that age and younger. So I thought that was a pretty cool little thing. So
yeah. What are they? What's their band?
The band's name is Calico, and they're a bunch of high school kids out of the Boise area. So I think maybe some of them have graduated by now, but yeah, they're just like kids doing what they love, and I think that was really apropos of the film. So
yeah, indeed. Yeah. Well, we got some. We have some weather out there right now, so maybe there's surf to be had this afternoon.
Or tomorrow, hopefully.
Yeah. Is there anybody that like you'd want to thank for for the production of the film? I know you talk about the parents and stuff.
Oh my God! I mean, yeah, there's so many because this was about a organization that's totally not for profit. I sort of had to lean on a lot of other people because the event itself only happens 3 times a summer, so I needed to have as much coverage as possible. So yes, I had a handful of people help me out with the filming of it, which was fantastic, including my 2 sons.
Nice.
Yeah, they were totally stoked to be part of it, and some of their footage made it in the film, which was great. The families, absolutely. Nancy, who started the organization. The doctor who's involved in the film, they all gave me unprecedented access. And of course, I ran into Barbara Bush on the beach down there, and she gave us a soundbite, so that was huge too. So, I mean, it was a community effort on this film, and it's just turned out to be really, this work of joy. So.
Yeah, man. Well, awesome. I really can't thank you enough.
Thank you. I really appreciate the opportunity to be in the fest this year. It's fantastic.
Yeah, well, keep up the good work, Ben.
All right, thank you.
Cheers. Oh, Ben Keller, thanks for stopping by.
My pleasure.
I don't know if I said your last name before.